Hello, welcome everyone to this YouTube Live event about Google's Information Technology Residency Program. For the agenda, we'll share our stories about Google's culture and why we feel it's a great place to work. And of course, we'll talk about Google's Information Technology Residency Program. We'll talk about what the program entails. You'll hear personal experience from our IT residents themselves. And then we'll finish off by answering some questions from our live audience listening in. Also, as a reminder, please send your questions via the chat window throughout the presentation. Our chat moderators will be answering your questions live throughout the event. Our chat moderators include another ITRP recruiter, Lauren, and an IT resident, Colton. So they're very well versed to answer your questions, so ask away. So welcome again, and let's jump right in. We'll start off with introductions. My name is Ariana. I work in our Sunnyvale office, which is still considered Mountain View headquarters. I work on the university recruiting team as a recruiter, specifically hiring for the IT residency program, along with Lauren, as I mentioned, who is one of our chat moderators. I've been at Google now for 2 years, so I'm excited to talk to you all today about this awesome program, and I'm joined here today with two current IT residents, Jamie and Tan Mei, so I'll let them go ahead and introduce themselves.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tan Mei. I am a IT resident currently working from the Mountain View office. I've been with the program for about 1.5 years now. And I'd let Jamie introduce himself now.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jamie. I work also in the Mountain View office at Google, and I've been in the program for about 6 months. And I'm really enjoying it so far. Pretty new, and really having a good time.
Awesome. Well, before we jump into the details of the IT residency program, we want to talk to you about Google's culture and why we feel like it's a great place to work and the best place to work. So we do this through our benefits, our workplace design, perks, and culture. These perks are designed to allow our Googlers to do their very best work. And as many of you know, some of these include free food and awesome free food, might I add. That's a big one. Micro kitchens, where there are small break areas for people to always be in the vicinity of snacks and to meet and discuss strategy every once in a while. The gym, and we're also very dog friendly, so it's not uncommon to see dogs in an office or on a shuttle, which is pretty cool. So those are just a few of the perks that we offer, but I do want to turn over to our IT residents again and ask each of you, what is your favorite perk at Google? And we'll start with Tan Mei.
Alrighty. For me, I think it's been the convenience of getting things done. Working at Google, I don't have to worry about my laundry or getting around. Laundry is taken care of, and within Google you can move around through shuttles, and there's a Uber-like service within Google, so you can get from one building to the other just using an app. And there's just a ton of different things. You can book a car for yourself for 3 hours or more, and it's amazing. It's just super convenient. The convenience that we get working for Google.
Thank you.
Yeah, so my favorite part is actually a company-wide meeting that we have once a week, and we call it PGIF. And it's a really good chance to meet other people that you work with, or maybe that you've never worked with or interacted with before. It's a great chance to grab some free food, hear what's going on in the company, and what's happening in different parts of the company that you maybe don't interact with as often. And also, there's free beer too, so you gotta love that.
Awesome. That's always a great perk. But it really isn't just all about the perks. We want Googlers to have meaning to their work, know what's going on, and be able to express their voice in a way that works for them. It's these principles in our people that really make our culture as special. And with that in mind, that's why we truly believe that every voice matters at Google.
Yeah, so just like Ariana was saying, every voice really does matter at Google. And in order to be successful, we need those voices to offer a diversity of perspectives within our own teams. And I think our CEO, Sundar, said it best when he said, whether you're building a company or leading a country, a diverse mix of voices and backgrounds and experiences leads to better discussions, better decisions, and better outcomes for everyone. And that's why we're committed to increasing diversity both inside Google and across the tech industry. Diverse perspectives are really critical to building good products that work for everyone.
Right, and so we know it's just not enough to find and hire Googlers with different voices, backgrounds, and experiences. We also need to create an inclusive environment where every Googler can be themselves. We want them to bring their whole selves to work. That includes their family, their hobbies and interests, their sense of humor. because that's what enables them to thrive in their careers and make the greatest impact for our users. So I've seen this in my experience at Google by expanding the ways that we find and hire our next Googlers. Myself, along with many other Googlers, have taken the unconscious bias training, which is a training that brings awareness to the ways that we bring unconscious bias into the workplace and focuses on the ways to address these biases. I've also attended several events or volunteer opportunities put on by our employee resource groups here or set of Googlers to support or bring awareness to an issue or cause. So those are a couple of ways that I've seen the way our company values diversity and inclusion. And as always, as we're doing in this presentation, we'll open it up again to Tianming and Jamie on how have you seen your personal or in your personal experience with diversity and inclusion at Google?
I personally feel that Google is a very culturally rich place, and every culture, every community that we have internally has its own way of celebrating different things and so on. In my personal experience, I'm a part of the Indian Googler Association, and we celebrate different festivals at different times. And just a few weeks back, we celebrated Diwali, which is the Indian festival of lights. It was a great celebration, a great community outside of home, and that's just one example.
Yeah, that's great, and those groups are so great, and they're so good for becoming a part of something bigger at Google. And there are other groups too. There's a group called Ola, which is for the Hispanic Googlers. There's a group called the Greyglers for a little bit older, gray-haired Googlers. And even if you don't fit into any of these categories, you're still more than welcome to join and become part of something bigger, a bigger community. And I think that's the key to diversity and inclusion. It's diverse groups that celebrate specific things, but welcome to everyone and open to everyone.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing, and those are wonderful examples. So in summary, we really believe diversity and inclusion brings so much value to our workplace. We want every voice to matter and thrive here so that Googlers can truly be themselves at Google. And speaking of Googlers, that leads us to tell you about, I think, our single best perk, and that is Googlers themselves. Everyone brings different perspectives and experiences to the table, but there are certain common traits every Googler has, and we call this Googliness. I think it's a term that can't be neatly defined, but it's what enables Googlers to thrive and contribute positively to our culture. You'll often see a lot of smart, passionate, funny, and I think just kind people around here. And I think what that Googliness means. If you're comfortable with ambiguity, have a certain dose of intellectual humility, have collaborative nature, you think like an owner, can adapt to change, those sorts of things are what we are looking for in the traits when we think about someone who's Googly and someone that we want to join Google. So it's hard work, but I think working with Googly people makes complex challenges even more fun. So if you are excited about the aspects of our culture that we've discussed and excited about the potential of being a Googler, and on top of that, IT is your passion, then you'll be excited for the next part of the presentation, which is talking about Google's IT residency program.
Alrighty, so I myself am an IT resident, and what Google's residency, information technology residency program is, it's a 26-month long role that's designed to jumpstart your career in technology and Google or beyond. You will learn what it takes to support and scale Google's technology from our corporate infrastructure to end users, using various support channels including chat, phone, video, in-person, and email. You will be helping Googlers with all sorts of challenging supporting issues. You will encounter a sophisticated user base working on all major desktops and mobile operating systems. A thing to add here is that we at Google believe that it's very important to keep Googlers productive, and we are one of the very few companies in the world that offer all platforms and for you to work on. And a plus point of that is that we get to support all of these platforms and get to learn on each one of them. We have locations in Mountain View, California, Ann Arbor, Michigan, and New York. And the program has start dates in January and July. So what this slide shows you is a view of one of the desktops. And each Mountain View office has a peculiar, unique design to it. I currently work out of the 1201 tech stop within Mountain View, and it is design based on Star Wars, which in itself is fairly cool. And just every single building here has a unique accent to it.
And the Information Technology Residency program also offers a couple of other things. So first, it offers great training and development. Your first 3 weeks in the program will be a sort of boot camp where you get to learn all about Google itself, its systems, its processes, and you get some specialized training in networking infrastructure and multi-platform system administration. As part of that, you're also doing a lot of customer service, soft skills development, project management, communication, and throughout the program, you get refresher trainings on these various topics so that you always stay up to date with what the latest and greatest is, both at Google and in the industry. You also get some great travel opportunities, and this is a huge opportunity that it's really unique to Google. But you get, depending on the availability and the need of staff, you can get domestic or abroad trips, and you get typically 4 weeks minimum providing IT support at another Google office. That's a really great opportunity not only to get to travel and explore, but also to see how different Google offices function, and they all function in their own googly way. The next thing you get as well is an ops rotation. So that's a 3-month rotation with an operations team in your local Google office. There's a lot of different rotations that you can become a part of, but potential ones include networking, development, site reliability engineering, and system administration. And finally, all those things, they ultimately lead to just making some real mission-critical contributions to Google as a whole. You get to work directly with all levels of the organization. You get to support and test new products. We call that dogfooding. And you get to grab the keys to the kingdom. You get access to a lot of amazing systems. They trust us with a lot, and it's our responsibility to use that access to support Google and keep Google running really well.
Awesome. So thank you guys for summing that up. This always makes me feel like I majored in the wrong thing and wanting to go into IT. But as a recruiter on that side, I'll tell you a little bit about our interview process. So we get candidates from 3 channels. That's online applicants, referrals, so Googlers that refer other folks, and source candidates. So there's a team that proactively goes out and looks for candidates that are a fit for the IT residency program. Once you are approved to move forward, then you will go through the recruiting process, which is first we'll ask for a self-assessment survey to evaluate your technical skill set, or have you rank yourself on your technical skill set for your interviewer to refer to during the interview. You'll get set up for a phone interview. If that all goes well, then you'll have 2 Google Hangout interviews, and these interviews are all focused on your technical skill set and done with an operations engineer, so someone who is technical themselves. Once you move on from that, the feedback will be reviewed by our hiring team, and we use hiring committees to make sure that you're asked fair questions, to make sure that your answers to those questions are fairly assessed, and to make sure that you'll be a fit for Google long term. We want to ensure that Googlers will add value across various teams throughout their careers here. And if all of those approvals go well, then the offer is extended. And at that point is when we would fly you out to whichever office it is that you'll be working out of for you to visit and get a taste and feel of what Google's culture is like up front. And in terms of what we're looking for when you go about your interviews and what we're looking for in that process is we want to see how you think, your thought process as you go about trying to solve the solution. Ideally, right, getting to a correct solution is great, but along that way, we're also just as curious about how it is that you're thinking about it and your problem-solving skills. Leadership is something they're going to be assessing too, and that can be basically on your campus, in your professional experience. We're looking for ways that you've made an impact in those roles so that you can come and imitate that right when you get to Google. Obviously, we're also looking for role-related knowledge, which means that your troubleshooting methods and how you do that, your knowledge of IT concepts, of platforms, etc. We want to make sure that you can come in and be successful at Google. And then lastly, of course, is the Googliness, which I think by now you guys know a lot about.
Nice. So how to apply? So if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, if you're excited about Google's culture and have a passion for IT, then visit google.com/students to apply online. Upload your resume and your transcripts. Unofficial transcripts should be fine, and just click submit.
Awesome. So, thanks everyone for listening to that part of the presentation. We'll now jump into the Q&A portion of the event and see what questions we have from our live audience. So, from Juan or Bina, do you get to decide if you want to work in Ann Arbor, Michigan or Mountain View, California? And the answer to that is yes, you do. You will get a choice in the beginning of the, once you make it to a certain part in the interview process, you will get a choice of which location that you want to work off of. Because you're providing both in-person and remote support and both offices, you'll get a chance to choose. Awesome. And so from Minnie, what happens after your 26 months in the ITR program?
I'll take that one. Yeah, so you're done. That's it. So after 20 months, you are actually eligible for converting to a different full-time role at Google. And that's a really exciting part of this program. But it's important to note that this program isn't just designed for converting ITRs to Google employees. It's actually designed for making you into a better IT person that you can use your skills in the entire industry. So while that is the goal of some people who are IT residents, it's also the goal of many of us to just go on to do awesome things at other companies that are out there. But basically, after month 20, if you do want to convert to be a different Google role, you just go through the Google internal hiring process for that particular role. And we have previous ITRs who have moved on to become corporate operations engineers and site reliability engineers and software engineers. So there is definitely lots of great opportunities at Google if you do want to stay here after those 26 months are up.
Yeah, and to add to that, I'd say the program itself is quite like university education itself. You do get to decide what is it that you are more interested in, and you on your own you begin to gain those specific skills. By the end of the program, you know exactly what you like and what you don't like within IT. And it's a great place where you get all this time and such good environment to analyze what is good for you and what not. So in that sense, it's a great program.
Awesome. And next question up from Santosh is this IT program for bachelor students only? That's a great question. It is not. We welcome a variety of different degrees. So you can have a bachelor's, you can have a master's, you can have an associate's. You don't have to have a degree at all. We're really looking for that experience in IT and providing support. So that's a great question. You do not necessarily have to have a bachelor's degree. Next question from Minnie. Do you have a preferred major? That is an interesting question. You do not have to have, you don't have a preferred major, I suppose. It is nice to see information technology, information studies, things revolved around that. But, however, it doesn't mean that you don't consider other majors. If you do have a major outside of that, then we are definitely still open to considering, again, because it falls around your experience. Maybe you didn't get a major in that background, but you have been working at your IT help desk for a certain amount of years. You have been building computers since you were young and have that experience. And so that's really what we're going to be mainly focusing on.
To add to that, I would say yes, it does matter as to how much inclined you are towards IT. And out of experience, there is somebody I know in the program who has a music degree. So it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters to some extent, maybe, but but it's the influence or the inclination towards IT that matters a lot more.
And from Hunter, When do you start hiring for each class? So we hire year-round, and so obviously before the start date or before January, we're kind of looking at around August to December that we're looking for, and then for our July, we kind of start hiring more so in January up until June or so for those class. But it really does depend because we hire year-round. So sometimes if a person can't start or we get their application a little bit beforehand, there are some cases where we will start hiring in advance. But closer to the start date, I think, is best for when we'll start kind of putting you through the interview process to start. And to Tianmei and Jamie, for you guys, what advice do you have for students for the technical interviews?
I guess I'll start. Be good at one thing. I think this is a general thing about people at Google. Everybody is an all-rounder, but everybody is really good at something. And every other person that you meet, there's always something to learn from them because everybody is so unique. So I would say make sure you know at least one thing really well and you understand how the world works within IT. For interview preparation tips, I would say understand networks. Try and see if you can understand how Linux works, Windows to some extent, Mac, as you know, just a basic overview of how these operating systems work, and be good at one of them.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, something that's also a good idea is, know how you troubleshoot, and don't just know what will fix something. More importantly, know why something will fix something, and be able to drill down really into the specifics of whichever step you're taking towards resolution. So you may get asked questions about scenarios, and you will really want to be able to dive into the scenario, and you want to be able to explain why you took a certain step. And what you think that step will do towards the problem being resolved. That's really important. There are a lot of people in IT who can just throw a bunch of steps and ideas at a problem, and they'll likely go away. But the important and distinctive part is knowing what steps do what things and why they're likely to fix a certain issue. And that'll be really important for you to display that knowledge on your interview.
Awesome, great answers. And from Genesis, is prior experience working in an IT setting required or preferred? That's another great question. Yes, it is, just because when we say IT setting, having some sort of experience that you can list on your resume that shows us that you do have the experience in troubleshooting and providing technical support. And sometimes it doesn't have to be, admin help desk, it can be in other areas, but having that prior experience is essentially necessary because we want to set you up for success. When you go in these interviews, they're going to dig a little bit deep. They're going to expect you to be able to show that knowledge. And so in that case, yes, having prior experience before getting into that interview is going to be in your best benefit so that you are setting yourself up to be the most successful in that interview. So next question is from Andrew. What kind of day-to-day tasks are common for ITRP members? And of course, I deliver to you too.
Sounds good. So as I mentioned earlier, every ITR takes a path that they like. So me, for example, I like automation and I like developing tools for the team. So there's a part of the program where you have this ops rotation. I rotated with the mobile platforms team, and I did a big chunk of development there. We within the support org also have certain automation projects. So as an ITR, I support Googlers, I fix their issues, understand what's wrong, and try and fix day-to-day tasks through automation.
Yeah, that's really good. And some of the other things that you do, besides the opportunities for travel and ops rotation, is you're really the face of support for Google. And that's a big responsibility, but it's also a really fun responsibility. Googlers are super nice and super understanding and patient, And you get to support them and help them make sure their technology is always working for them and not becoming a blocker to whatever they are working on. So you do a lot of troubleshooting. You work on tickets, you take walk-ups from people and help them in person. You might do chat support or phone support. And so there's a lot of things that you get to do as the face of Google support that will help our fellow Googlers continue to innovate and move Google forward as a company.
Awesome. Great. That looks like that's all the questions that we have. So thank you all for joining in to watch this YouTube live event, and enjoy the rest of your evening.